Tonight on the Midnight Drive, we're leaving Hollywood behind and heading out into the California desert, past the palm trees, past the neon, past the endless performance. Because somewhere between Joshua Tree, UFO mythology, sound baths, and strange silence of the Mojave, California starts searching for something bigger than fame. The Integratron is one of the strangest buildings in America. Part sound chamber, part spiritual retreat, part Cold War fever dream. And whether you believe in energy, frequencies, cosmic consciousness, or none of it at all, there's something fascinating about the number of people who head into the desert hoping they'll come back transformed. And tonight, we explore California spirituality, transcendence culture, desert psychology, UFO mythology, sound healing, and the strange human need to feel connected to something larger than ourselves. California has always attracted people searching for transformation. At first, that transformation looked material. Gold rushes, Hollywood, music, wealth, fame, success, visibility. But eventually, California started attracting another kind of seeker as well. People searching for transcendence, meaning, awakening, healing, connection, something that's larger than ordinary life. And maybe that shift was inevitable. Because after enough performance, after enough ambition, after enough comparison and visibility and reinvention, people eventually start asking different questions. Questions like, why do I still feel disconnected? Or, why doesn't success fix loneliness? Or, what am I actually searching for? Why do I feel emotionally exhausted all of the time? That emotional searching became deeply embedded into California culture over the years, especially in the desert. Because deserts affect people psychologically in strange ways. The Mojave feels different. Joshua Tree feels different. Not necessarily supernatural, just stripped down. The noise disappears. The distractions thin out. At night, the sky opens wide enough to make people feel small again. And once people feel small, they often start becoming spiritually receptive. That's probably one reason the California desert culture became such a magnet for mysticism and UFO mythology, communes, spiritual retreats, psychedelics, sound healing, cosmic consciousness movements, and New Age philosophy. People head into the desert hoping distance from ordinary life might somehow reorganize something inside of them emotionally. That's where places like the Integratron enter the story. The Integratron looks almost unreal sitting out in the California desert. Part spaceship, part sound chamber, part retro-futurist spiritual experiment. Its origins are somehow even weirder. The structure was designed by George Van Tassel, a former aviation engineer who became heavily involved in UFO spirituality during the 1950s. And this was peak Cold War America, a period where nuclear anxiety, technological optimism, space obsession, spiritual searching, government secrecy, and UFO fascination all started blending together culturally. California became the perfect environment for this mixture, because California already encouraged reinvention psychologically. So naturally, people also started reinventing spiritually there as well. Eastern philosophy, meditation, cosmic energy, frequency healing, alternative consciousness. The boundaries between science fiction, spirituality, wellness culture, and genuine existential searching became increasingly blurry. And the Integratron almost feels like a physical monument to that blur. Van Tassel claimed the structure was partially inspired through extraterrestrial communication, which sounds absurd immediately to many people. And maybe parts of it absolutely are absurd. But what's interesting isn't simply, did aliens help build a dome in the desert? Well, the interesting part is, why were so many people emotionally receptive to ideas like that in the first place? Because post-war America created enormous psychological tension. Technological advancement was accelerating rapidly. Traditional institutions were being questioned. Nuclear annihilation suddenly felt very possible. Modernity itself started feeling emotionally unstable. And in moments where cultural becomes disoriented, people often start searching for alternative systems of meaning. That pattern repeats constantly throughout history. California simply became one of the largest stages for it, especially because the state already marketed itself as a place of transformation. Hollywood promised reinvention externally. California spirituality started promising reinvention internally, a different self, a higher consciousness, healing, alignment, transcendence. That emotional promise became incredibly powerful. And it still is, because modern life genuinely exhausts people on a psychological level. It's constant performance, constant visibility, constant comparison, constant stimulation. People become emotionally overloaded, disconnected, fragmented. So naturally, many start searching for experiences that feel grounding again. That's one reason sound baths and frequency-based wellness experience became so popular around places like Joshua Tree and the Integratron. Not necessarily because people believe magic frequencies will unlock cosmic dimensions. Don't get me wrong, some people absolutely do. More often, people are searching for stillness, immersion, emotional reset. Just a break from modern noise. And maybe that's the strange emotional contradiction sitting underneath California spirituality, even in a state obsessed with visibility. Many people are desperately searching for experiences where ego finally disappears for just a little while. That tension exists all across California culture. Hollywood says, become somebody. The desert says, disappear for a moment. One pushes people toward performance, the other pulls people toward disillusion. And maybe that's why the desert feels so emotionally important to California specifically, because eventually the noise of Los Angeles becomes exhausting. The branding, the networking, the identity management, the endless visibility. People start wanting silence badly enough to drive hours into empty landscapes searching for it. Searching for stars, searching for perspective, searching for something that feels emotionally real again. And whether somebody interprets places like the Integratron through spirituality or psychology or skepticism or energy work or placebo effect or meditation or cosmic symbolism, the emotional need underneath it all is so incredibly grounding. People want connection. People want meaning. People want relief from fragmentation. And maybe California became such fertile ground for spiritual experimentation because the state itself already pushes identity to unstable extremes. After enough performance, people eventually start searching for transcendence instead. You, my friends, are listening to the Midnight Drive. Transcendence in the middle of the Mojave Desert in a spaceship-shaped dome. Maybe that's why places like the Integratron remain fascinating, even to skeptical people. Just the description of that draws anybody who's in earshot to listen. Because beneath all the UFO mythology and New Age aesthetics, there's still a very recognizable human desire underneath all of it. The desire to feel connected again. Modern life fragments people constantly. All of the notifications, algorithms, advertising, performance, deadlines, visibility, comparison, our nervous systems never fully relax anymore. And after enough overstimulation, people start searching for experiences that feel immersive enough to interrupt all of that noise. That's part of why sound baths became so culturally powerful in California wellness spaces. At first glance, the concept almost sounds silly. People lying on the floor while harmonic frequencies echo through a dome in the middle of the desert. But then you step back and look at it psychologically for a second. People have always used rhythm, chanting, drumming, resonance, communal sound, meditation, and music to alter emotional states. Religious ceremonies, tribal rituals, cathedrals, choirs, ancient instruments. People have been searching for emotionally immersive sound experiences for thousands of years. The Integratron just repackages that search through a distinctly California lens. Retrofuturism mixed with spiritual reinvention, aka a transcendent experience, sound bath style, in a UFO-shaped dome in the middle of the Mojave Desert. That combination is so California, is it not? I love it. Because California often blends technology, spirituality, wellness, psychology, aesthetics, commerce, and self-improvement, all into one strange cultural ecosystem. Sometimes beautifully, sometimes absurdly. Sometimes both at the exact same time. If you ask me, the Integratron is both at the exact same time. I love it. California can produce genuine healing and performative spirituality right beside each other. Real emotional searching beside influencer aesthetics. People looking for meaning beside people building personal brands around appearing spiritually evolved. That contradiction exists everywhere in modern wellness culture nowadays, especially online. Crystals, manifestation, energy language, frequency healing, meditation influencers, retreat culture, digital spirituality. It's everywhere. Some of it comes from sincere searching. Some of it becomes commodified performance almost immediately. In California, sits directly at the center of that tension culturally. Because California has always been a place where longing becomes marketable very quickly. Everything becomes aestheticized there. Even spirituality. But dismissing all of it entirely misses something very important too. Because beneath the commercialization, people are still trying to solve a very real emotional problem. Disconnection. Isolation, emotional exhaustion. Modern people are overwhelmed constantly, yet still feel profoundly alone. That contradiction damages people psychologically over time. So naturally, many become attracted to experiences promising stillness, or grounding, or emotional release, or transcendence, or reconnection, especially in environments like the desert, where ordinary life suddenly feels far away. And maybe that's part of why the desert itself feels spiritually charged to so many people. Not because the desert is magically supernatural, but because emptiness changes human perception. Think about it. Silence changes perception. Dark skies change perception. Isolation changes perception. People become more emotionally porous in environments without constant stimulation. That's why so many spiritual traditions throughout history emerged from nature. Mountains, caves, forests, deserts, places where ordinary distractions disappeared for long enough for people to confront themselves directly. And you want to know what? The Mojave Desert still does that, especially at night. The stars out there don't feel decorative. They feel overwhelming. And suddenly, all the Hollywood noise starts feeling very small by comparison. Follower counts, networking, visibility, branding, the performance of it all starts dissolving little by little. That emotional contrast might explain why California contains both Hollywood and Joshua Tree so naturally. One environment amplifies ego, the other completely strips it down. One says, become visible. The other says, you are tiny beneath the universe. And maybe people move between those spaces emotionally more often than they might realize. Especially in California, where identity itself feels so unstable so frequently. People are reinventing themselves there constantly. New image, new project, new career, new philosophy, new lifestyle. But endless reinvention can become exhausting over time. Because underneath every transformation attempt sits the same lingering question. Will this finally make me feel whole? That is a difficult and powerful question. And maybe places like the Integratron endure because they offer people temporary relief from that pressure. A pause, a surrender, a moment where somebody doesn't need to perform themselves constantly. Even if only for an hour inside a humming sound dome in the middle of the California desert. That experience clearly means something emotionally to people. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep searching for it, would they? And maybe California's strangest contradiction isn't the gap between glamour and collapse. Maybe it's the gap between endless self-construction and the desperate desire to finally stop constructing yourself for just a little while. Because after enough performance, after enough ambition, after enough trying to become somebody, people eventually start searching for experiences that allow them to simply feel connected to existence again. How wonderful is that? Would you take a trip to the Integratron? I know I would.